So this guy Based Is True has been begging me to do a collab with him for a really long time. His channel is basically just where he makes fun of loads of cringe subreddits. And I was like, oh man, this guy's already sucked the teats of subreddit cringe dry. Until I happened to stumble upon the seething mass of insanity that is this entire subreddit dedicated to hating J.K. Rowling. So with that nugget of an idea in hand, I began scripting, chiseling away at it and refining it into a great video. And then, no word of a lie, I sent this script to Based Is True and he said, hey dude, this script is way too good, I don't think there's anything I can add to it. And I told him that I would get my comment section to make fun of him for being a coward and refusing to rise to the challenge, but he did say that at some point we might do a live stream together, so look forward to that. Anyway, so I guess it's time to soldier through the depraved wasteland of Reddit alone with only my wit in hand. First things first, obviously, are the top posts of all time. They're the most popular, so they must be the best. And the best of the best is this post presenting proof J.K. Rowling is a general piece of human garbage and okay, it's pretty long. But you know, if this is proof that she's human garbage, if we just pick some points at random, I'm sure they'd be pretty undeniably terrible. Like, her books are very undiverse. The only LGBTQ plus diversity was after the books were written. Oh no. I can't believe this piece of human garbage didn't include a token gay character. And on top of that, most characters in her stories are white. Never mind the fact that J.K. Rowling was willing to revise her own description of the pale-faced Hermione to say that there's no reason she can't be black. No, clearly Rowling just hates diversity because she didn't have a gay old man who exclusively works with children reveal his sexual preferences in the narrative itself. Good job, Harry, defeating that dastardly Tom Riddle. By the way, I'm sexually attracted to men. Dumbledore, I'm 12. Even regarding the initial lack of racial diversity in the books, I mean, the UK just wasn't that diverse in general back then. Indeed, the first book is set during a census year, 1991, so we know for an absolute fact the UK was 95% white at the time. So yeah, to be fair, if the 20 most prominent characters in the book were all white, that would be inaccurate or misrepresentative, since statistically, one of them at that point should have been non-white. But either way, to suggest a lack of diversity proves someone is a garbage human being is obviously ridiculous. Plenty of pieces of media are largely white, but that doesn't mean the people who produced it were evil. In fact, if you're going to say that, then you're sort of just turning token minority characters into an obligation, which defeats the point. Okay, now let's pick another example. She also accused people who support trans rights of just wanting woke cookie points on Twitter. Human garbage. There truly is no other word for it. Thank God other brave civil rights leaders didn't have to deal with being accused of wanting woke cookie points. We'd be living in a very different world. I mean, I'm sure the women fighting for their sex-based rights would hate to be told that they just want cookie points for their efforts. Instead, they have it easy just being subject to rape and death threats. Okay. So far, the proofs she's human garbage haven't been great, but get this. Her pseudonym coincidentally has the same name as a guy who advocated for gay conversion therapy. I mean, some people do just have the same name as other people. Wait until you hear about that one Namibian politician. Obviously, none of this makes her a garbage human being, but I'd also just point out how illogical this is as a criticism. What you'd have to be saying here is that years before she expressed any opinions about the trans issue, before 2013 when she first published under that name, she was such a fan of gay conversion therapy that she chose that name as a dog whistle. Even though nobody made this connection until people started hating Rowling in 2020 after she spoke about the trans issue. But the other giant issue here is Rowling has never given even a slight indication that she supports gay conversion therapy. Even if that was the case, why would she have retconned Dumbledore into being gay and at no point suggested this is a bad thing? Also, why is she focusing on trans people and even platforming and celebrating LGB rights activists who oppose trans ideology? But apparently she hates gay people and loves conversion therapy so much that she wanted to signal this once, subtly, over a decade ago, and then has done nothing related to it since. I mean, I appreciate a long con as much as the next man, but for every year she stays silent, millions of gays are going unconverted, and she seems fine with that. There's a lot more to laugh at, so we'll gloss over most of this, and I guess just end on the strong note of can ignore corn tweeted at children, but draws the line at trans people. Okay, so that sounds pretty bad. Obviously, we're all supposed to pay attention to corn tweeted at children. That's a surefire way to get the trolls to stop. See, the actual context here is that Rowling is saying that she ignored that because she considered it to be beneath her to engage with such disgusting behavior, which I'd say is actually a pretty good way to handle sick perverts. I've actually already made a video about this specific thing and the subtle nuances of taking something out of context, which I'll link in the corner for you to see my full breakdown. Also means I can avoid using the word corn anymore in this video. The internet sure is infantilized now, although I didn't say grape earlier. Okay, so this mega thread of all the reasons JK Rowling is human garbage isn't actually that convincing, but really the whole subreddit should be evidencing that. So the second top post of all time is proof JK Rowling is an awful, terrible person because she provides deep lore on her characters. Wow. What a terrible, awful woman. Like, there's nothing more to this. She has at times gone quite in depth with the information about her characters, and apparently this is a bad thing. By the way, I'm guessing they don't need to fear people liking the characters they've written in their books so much, because I expect another way they're not like JK Rowling is nobody cares about anything they've written. I mean, if the criticism here is that Rowling is milking the universe a bit by providing all this unnecessary extra lore, then fine, sure. But you're allowed to milk the most successful fantasy franchise of all time if you created it. That's my hot take. Some other terrible things about JK Rowling when you sort by the top post of all time are that she thinks it's a problem that young autistic people are being groomed into sterilizing themselves. Okay, so they're big eugenics fans over at the anti-JK Rowling subreddit. Also, apparently it's actually bad that Rowling was open to Hermione not being white because of house elves, a fantasy race. They're like black people, I guess. Also, what do you mean it would have looked great in the movies? The house elf slavery campaign thing wasn't included in the movies in the first place. Now, the TV show, on the other hand, is supposed to be fleshed out to include all of the stuff that was cut from the movies, and, well, Hermione isn't going to be white in that. But yeah, let it be known that it's incredibly myopic to just immediately associate black people with being slaves. People do be telling on themselves when they look at the house elves who overwhelmingly like being slaves and say, wow, this is so offensive because it's just like black people. We also have this post likening JK Rowling to someone accused of sexual assault because she had the audacity to claim that women can't have penises. Might be waiting a while for people to disown her for that one. Then we have this epic savage ponage from someone who doesn't know what the second person means. Pretty sure chickens can't actually read, so what Rowling's saying is necessarily true because the only person she could be realistically talking to would be a human capable of reading what she wrote. Also, you know, since most of the trans identity debate is about the female part of the adult human-female definition, children and non-human animals are implicitly excluded if we're arguing in good faith. It's literally homophobia that JK Rowling thinks that being gay has something to do with your sexuality. Gay people don't have sex, you bigot. Sometimes on this subreddit they just post examples of her being unambiguously correct, like here. Erasing the idea of biological sex makes homosexuality impossible. Yeah, it does. Obviously. Anyway, as you can tell, the top posts of all time are pretty weak, but maybe their more recent content has been more impressive. Maybe they've learned and grown over time. Nope, the top post for the last month is a woman complaining that she used to use the men's bathroom when the line for the women's bathroom was too long, and now she can't do that because of JK Rowling. Firstly, this isn't even a first world problem. It's a zeroth world problem, a negative infinitieth world problem. Also, I remember a full decade ago seeing a woman get ejected from a nightclub because she walked into the male toilet. You have actually never been allowed to just blatantly stroll into the men's, so I don't know why you're blaming JK Rowling. Seems like the haters have got even more deluded over time, or the people habitually contributing to this subreddit month in, month out are a special breed of insane. Second post is Laser Clinic offers deal on getting Harry Potter tattoos removed. I mean, whatever your problem with JK Rowling, I'm sure she would say that people should think twice before making major changes to their body they might regret. If only her detractors were consistent on that point. At least if you get a Harry Potter tattoo you regret, you won't be accused of being a traitor for rectifying that poor decision. Does TERF stand for tattoo exclusionary now? Next is a post talking about how the Harry Potter TV show is going to be a disaster in the making. I mean, obviously it will be because it will have a black Hermione opposing slavery. That's a disaster. Actually, I do have some opinions on the Harry Potter TV show because, yeah, I like talking about this trans stuff, but I also have a lot of interest in media. In fact, I have a few other interests, and all going well, by the time this is going up, I will have already started on my gaming channel responding to the 4.5-hour transphobia debunked video. So I will link that and you should check it out and subscribe, and I explain in more detail at the start of that live stream what exactly my plan is with this project. But yeah, point is, I'm interested in this Harry Potter TV show totally independent of all of the trans politics. That's why, even though I want Rowling to be successful and well regarded, I did on some level really enjoy what happened with the Fantastic Beasts films. The fact that they were such bad movies and they planned to release 5 of them and then they just quit after the 3rd and abandoned the series is insane. The fact that Harry Potter was the biggest franchise ever, but they didn't even finish the prequel series because it was so poorly received. Unprecedented. And with that said, there is now precedent for the Harry Potter TV show. It could conceivably be so bad and unsuccessful that they don't even finish it. My chief concern is, well, if you get me talking about Harry Potter for any length of time, I will tell you that I really, really like the first 2 films and have very little time for any of the rest. Like, I consider the first 2 films strong contenders for the greatest fantasy adventure movies ever made. In fact, never mind contenders, they just are. They're better than Lord of the Rings, fight me. And the thing I love about them is they're so thematically and narratively and emotionally dense and unimaginably well constructed. It's not just that you can look at any scene and marvel at the efficiency of how many different things they're setting up and introducing, but then you can look at the film as a whole and see how every single individual scene is perfectly setting up the next one, so everything fits together perfectly into place. In terms of plot construction, which is the most important thing for a fantasy series, it genuinely is the gold standard for filmmaking. So you can probably already see where this is going. A television series will give them way more time to play with, which means probably that really efficient, dense storytelling will be gone. In general, I've always said that TV shows are bad as a whole for this reason. Assuming they're not episodic and are telling a complete story across a half-dozen+ episodes per season, they always feel more meandering, unfocused, and therefore boring. So yeah, I am honestly excited on a meta level to see how the Harry Potter TV show performs and whether I will like it, but I can't really imagine it flopping. It seems to be intending to very much pander to the superfans, and I imagine that will pay off. I actually have a whole separate rant I could unload now about how the rise of the internet and consequently the rise of fandoms has essentially ruined the concept of adaptations, because there's going to be a whole load of nerds dominating the discussion and begrudging every single change to the source material, thus voiding the artistry of adapting a story from one medium to another. But yeah, there probably are enough Harry Potter fans that simply in mindlessly recreating the exact content of the books, a lot of them will enjoy it because it's familiar. What do you think? Will the series be successful? Are you looking forward to it? Etc. So after a bit of a detour, we can come back strong with the most deranged post of all time. Is Rowling a potential predator who hides behind wealth? No, she's just too busy hating on trans folk that she doesn't notice things. Okay, so there's a lot going on here, and I thought I must be missing some context. Turns out a famous British nonce, that's a British word by the way, Prince Andrew, has been seen on the set of the new Harry Potter TV show. I, for one, can't believe there'd be predators in the television and film industry. Shocking news. Most of those predators tend to be dudes though, not people like J.K. Rowling. And really, the fact that apparently a pedo showed up on set to a production of a show that J.K. Rowling is involved in? It's not exactly a smoking gun, is it? Like, imagine being so unhinged that you're calling a woman who, by the way, was in an abusive marriage, a predator because she didn't veto a guy showing up on the set of a TV show based on the books she wrote. How much control does Rowling even have over the TV show aside from just getting a say over the adaptive decisions? That pedo veto clause can really get you out of a dam, but I think most people aren't aware of it in the small print. Yeah, I think this shows that Rowling derangement syndrome is seriously going to make people insane. At least with Trump derangement syndrome, I mean, release the Epstein files or people are just going to draw their own conclusions there. But J.K. Rowling, a predator who hides behind money, definitely a reasonable thing to speculate about a woman who disagrees with you about how words should be defined. Speaking of hiding behind money, a big thank you to those who contribute to my Patreon and YouTube memberships. You're all very appreciated. Of course, the big recent news is that Keira Knightley dunked on the woke mob by refusing to apologize when asked why she had worked on a Harry Potter project.
I saw you're voicing Professor Umbridge in the new Harry Potter audiobooks. I was wondering, are you aware that some fans are calling for a boycott, given J.K. Rowling's ongoing campaign against trans people?
I was not aware of that, no. I'm very sorry. You know, I think we're all living in a period of time right now where we're all going to have to figure out how to live together, aren't we? And we've all got very different opinions. So I hope that we can all find respect.
Obviously, they are mad about that. Not very happy at all. So at this point, I was planning to talk to Based. It feels weird calling him Based, but then I'm king critical, so who am I to talk? About who is hotter, Emma Watson or Keira Knightley. Because imagine you were a child in the mid-2000s, just starting to get crushes on girls. You had Emma Watson in Harry Potter and Keira Knightley in Pirates of the Caribbean. Be still, my beating heart. I guess I should just say we should be thankful that at least one of our childhood crushes doesn't bow down to the woke mob. And it has to be said, not that it's the main reason, but a woman standing up for herself and refusing to apologize is pretty sexy. I don't support a mass murdering campaign of eugenics like Sydney Sweeney, but the fact that she so brazenly said it unapologetically, phew. It also doesn't help that Emma Watson is not a very good actor. Keira mogs her in talent, politics, and looks. It's just how it is. And finally, let's close by looking at the newest posts, and it's not any better. Firstly, we get this complaint about how an excerpt from Harry Potter about Christmas is being sold as a separate book for Christmas. Apparently it's 48 pages long and has pictures and would be perfect to read at Christmas. But this Redditor is horrified that someone would buy a book that would only take 5 minutes to read. It's a children's book. Adults enjoy them, but the books are for children. Makes sense to repackage them as shorter stories with images. You know, like the kinds of books you read to children. It's really not some big scandal that someone might buy a book for people specifically around Christmas that just contains an account of Christmas from Harry Potter. I guess the best analogy I could make is as a Christian, I own multiple Bibles. A fancy Bible I don't like moving, a compact Bible I carry on my person, a notes-taking Bible, this giant study Bible. I have lots of different Bibles. And while I'm not going to pretend I don't think this is a bit sad, for some people, their version of the Bible is the Harry Potter books. So it makes sense that they might pay money for the same book for different purposes. Next, there's this post, which I don't care about too much. It's just touching on that scandal about Prince Andrew showing up on the set of the Harry Potter TV show. But notice how they can't even say like, Rowling did such and such. No, they have to say Rowling's legacy aids child predator. So Rowling's legacy is pretty huge. She wrote the biggest fantasy franchise of all time, therefore, talking about her legacy doing a specific thing doesn't really make much sense. What it sounds like is that this weirdo just inserted himself into the Harry Potter TV show production, and Rowling had nothing to do with it, which is why you have to word it this awkwardly to just talk about her legacy. By the way, the person who posted this is called Essence of Thought, and they're like, insane. They've even attacked a whole load of trans creators for not being woke enough. They're not worth any decent, honest person's time. In fact, I've made a video about this particularly sinister character before, which of course I will link up here, as is my tendency. And then, finally, there's this post to close, asking how Harry Potter got popular in terms of pseudo-intellectualism. What's really funny is it shows how these guys have totally forgotten history, because it was you who tried to turn Harry Potter into the centre of your ideological identities. Don't forget, it was a British liberal progressive politician who likened losing an election to the Death Eaters taking over Hogwarts.
It feels, I said to the BBC, it feels like joining Hogwarts, but when the Death Eaters have taken over. You know, I've got my acceptance letter, but I've rocked up and Severus Snape is the head teacher, the Death Eaters are all teaching.
Until 2020, Harry Potter was near universally associated with liberal progressives, and they were the ones trying to find these deep philosophical messages in it. And honestly, it's still those people. Conservatives and gender criticals might agree with Rowling, but they aren't necessarily huge fans of Harry Potter based on that, and they're definitely not the ones making in-depth deconstructions of the themes or characters. It's still the woke doing that. Just now they're angry about it. Anyway, everyone, so obviously this was a slightly different format from usual, in that I was kind of like sometimes filming myself, sometimes using the screen. Also, obviously I started working on this video a while ago, so the newest posts and the top posts for this month might not be the same as they were when I was first scripting the videos, so if it looks like there was some finagling there with the editing or things weren't really lining up with the visuals, that's why. Anyway, aside from that, I'll just say, obviously, you could give on Patreon. If you do give on Patreon, you'll get access to a bonus video. Here's a clip of the bonus video.
But what evidence do you have that fertility is removed from children? And also, why does that matter? We have plenty of people in the world, and Well, okay, so
Insane. I cannot believe that Luxander would say that. Full on fascist logic right there, claiming that it doesn't matter if your individual rights are taken away, if you are sterilized, because we already have enough people. As if it doesn't matter what you want, that you want to have kids, that you want to start a family, that you just don't want to know that through this experimental medical procedure, you have been robbed of the ability to reproduce, which is a really fundamental evolutionary biological drive for most people. But it doesn't matter because we've already got enough people. By the way, we don't really already have enough people. In most of the Western world, the population is below replacement level. And there are places like South Korea where it's a serious problem that the population is just going to fall through the floor. And I'll also say, so I have this gaming channel, and on that gaming channel, I am doing live. So I'm going to be reacting to that massive 5-hour transphobia debunk video live. You should come there. It will be more entertaining, certainly a lot less sad for me if I'm not just playing it on my own. So yeah, I'm recording this I'm recording this before I'd even started like the first live stream. So whatever, that's that. It may be the case that a lot of you have already shown up, but if none of you have, then you should show up now. And yeah, obviously, I can sit here and I can always say, oh, there's lots of other stuff I'm doing. You should check out all the other stuff. But you guys know that. So just, help with the algorithm, like, share, comment, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. If you are going to be one of those people who thinks that it's intrinsically, like, disgustingly misogynistic to be a heterosexual man who thinks that women are attractive and that we can talk about women being attractive, then just don't tell me your opinion on me talking about Keira Knightley and Emma Watson and them being attractive, because that is just stupid, and you should just get over it, because it's actually not an unreasonable thing to talk about at all. And, I don't know, is this a negative note to end on? I just know for a fact, like, occasionally, every now and then, I know that I've, like, mentioned, oh, so-and-so is attractive or so-and-so isn't attractive, and I've had, like, at least one feminist detractor being like, you should not talk about that. I thought you were an ally of women, but now I find out you have opinions on whether women are attractive and whether some women are more attractive than other women. It's like, calm down. Yes, for the record, let it be said. And I don't think that's a contradiction. I don't think it's a contradiction to stand up for women's rights, but also think that we can talk about and acknowledge that women and men are both attractive. Some are more attractive than the others. That's how it is. That's my hot take. So if you complain about that, just know that I will roll my eyes. I won't even reply to you. I'll just roll my eyes and silently move on.